Let's welcome once again into the Little Dum Dum Club for another week. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Tommy Dassilo, and with me, as always, the other half of the program, Carl Chandler.
G'day, dickhead.
Joining us today, we have two very special guests, one of them on the show for the first time. Please welcome back into the Little Dum Dum Club, Luke Heggie and Osher Günsberg.
Whoa! Yes!
Nice to hear you. In fact, I think this was the first Australian podcast I ever listened to in 2011.
Mhm.
And I remember I'd just gotten divorced. I'm like, fuck, I've got to do something.
We get that a lot. A lot of actors.
Well, because I was unemployed. I was unemployed. I'd just gotten divorced. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's happening here.
How can I make rock bottom worse? Yep.
No. I called Heggie and I said, mate, have you heard this podcast, Little Dum Dum Club? We could do a podcast. What, it's just two people talking shit? Yeah, it's just two people talking shit. We never made it happen. But I remember calling Heggie saying we should do a podcast together after I heard your podcast.
Wow, we were the inspiration behind you two doing nothing. Wow, it's quite an origin story.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we've gotten you together here on this episode. This is the pilot episode that we're going to kind of oversee and coach you through.
Oh, yeah, we just cut ourselves out of this episode.
Yeah, this is the first episode of Heggie and Osher. So, what do you? Come on, Heggie, fire up. Let's get the banter going.
Two middle-aged white guys talking shit. That's not enough. There's no podcast doing it, are there, Luke?
That's it.
Nah. On it.
No.
Already.
Thanks, Heggie.
Yeah.
What a glimpse into what could have been 10 years ago.
Word that comes to mind when dancing with Heggie is generous.
Yeah. Heggie's school of improv. It's not yes and, it's just
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
What a full stop's happening. Yeah. Now this is intriguing to me. Like whenever I hear this, that you two are genuine real life mates and you grew up together, sort of thing, went to school together, you've been mates the whole time. This is so weird to me because you look at you two and it's the original Odd Couple. It's like finding out that Kylie Minogue's actually best mates with Kyle Sandilands or something. It does sound quite bizarre.
Which one am I out of that?
Well, who do you reckon, Maggie? Who do you reckon? Look down and see if you're wearing hot pants right now. Heggie,
I do like to spin around. Yeah.
Every time you come on this show, you insist on hooking me up to a lie detector. So you tell us which one you think.
Deep cuts. That's a lot.
Yep. One for the train spotters there.
But you guys did like go to school together, grow up together in Brisbane.
Yeah. I met. We're nearly at our 40th anniversary. Heggie, what are you getting me?
Oh wow!
Packet of Lifesavers, 5 flavors. I don't know, something from the time.
That's the first joke. I know. Here's a story. Is like we met each other in grade 3. We were in primary school together in Brisbane in a suburb called.
Oh man! Imagine a grumpy grade 3 Heggie. Like, what's he got the shits up about in grade 3? About sausage rolls?
He'd yet to have his heart hardened by the cruelty of the world at that point. He was still just life and joy. And the teacher, Mrs. Sweep, threw out a hypothetical. You're in a plane. There's 3 people, including the pilot, but there's only 2 parachutes. What do you do? And the people putting their hands up trying to answer this hypothetical, how they keep each other alive. Heggie puts his hand up. He was sitting next to me at the time. Heggie puts his hand up and he goes, I'd stop into the milk bar and get a pack of Lifesavers because I'd need to have my life saved. And I'm 8 just going, that was the first joke I ever remember anyone telling that wasn't like a knock knock or a what do you call her, kind of super racist Queensland joke. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. So he had it. He had the game like early. He had it going on. And he's been like that the whole time.
That's why he should have been jettisoned straight into the panel shows from then on. That's the perfect panel show.
Get this kid a blazer. He's ready for action.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was pretty happy.
Blazer came a few years later.
Yeah, we had to wear blazers at school. We sure did. I think I've seen enough blazers in my time. I don't need any more blazers. Thanks very much.
With shorts.
How brutal is that for a question in grade 3? You're in a plane that's about to crash, and who's getting the parachutes in grade 3? What the fuck's going on there?
Well, that's why Queenslanders have a lot of spirit.
Yeah.
Chuck us in the deep end early.
Yeah.
Get our backs against the wall. Take it from there.
Yeah. And at the time, like, bear in mind, at the time, Queensland was living under Joh Bjelke-Petersen, and people outside of Queensland don't understand. Like, just get your heads around this, folks. All right, we all know what apartheid was, right? We all know how terrible things were if you weren't a white person in South Africa. Okay, apartheid was based on Queensland's racial separation laws. Okay,
Right.
they went, "Oh, that's a good idea," and they
Was it
fucking
actually?
Yes, they copied what was happening in Queensland. Okay. So that's the kind of lineage of what was happening up there. And Bjelke-Petersen was from that, era of, people who were like, well, I'm white, so therefore it's fine. And it was brutal. I remember at the time he was a union buster. And remember there was blackouts every night, Heggie? You remember that?
Yeah.
Like, just for weeks.
Really?
Good old days.
Because the unions were like, fuck you, and they turned the power off on us like every night. And it was great because you're like, couldn't do my homework. Our suburb was blacked out last night. And this.
Oh, really?
Right.
Yeah.
So this, so basically, what you're saying, all this is going on. So you're going into school as an 8-year-old, and the horrifying hypothetical scenario of a plane going down is actually a bright spot in the day. This is like,
Yeah.
Well, she actually.
You go.
Oh, well, the bright spot of that year, I remember, is she fell off a chair. And I think she's changing a light bulb or something. Fell off a chair. Brilliant.
Yeah.
With a slapstick.
Probably reenacting a joke you'd told in class. Hey,
It's hilarious.
teachers that take to change a light bulb.
Well, it was the kind of, so Queensland was like, there was a picture of Jesus, like the white Jesus, not the actual Middle Eastern Jesus, but there was a picture of white Jesus on one side of the blackboard, and there was a queen on the other side of the blackboard. All right, Queensland was very much about that,
Right.
back in the day, and 3 people walking down the street was a march, and the cops
Right.
were legally allowed to like stop it violently if they wanted, which they did.
So who was
fucked up.
if you guys were the South Africa of here, who was the Nelson Mandela in Queensland? Was it Jackie McDonald or someone? Like who was the big
Jackie
figure
Mack.
up there? Yeah,
Was she a Queenslander, Jackie Mack?
absolutely. That's all she talked about on Hey Hey Saturday.
Oh, I
Yeah.
never really watched it. I wasn't. Yeah, okay. I knew she existed. I didn't know.
You never watched Hey Hey Saturday?
No. Like it's
What are
been
you
on in the
doing
background.
Oh, blackout.
Living
Blackout
life.
at 5 o'clock. Yeah.
When you want some, just to kind of reminisce about better times and want to see some blackface, where do you go?
Yeah.
I go to my nan's house and we get out a tub of nugget and just go for it.
Right. That was actually too toned down for you. Hey Hey Saturday. You had to
Yeah,
get
it's
the
a bit
real
woke.
deal.
I thought it's too
Yeah,
much
right.
bloody
Yeah.
populist lefty fucking bullshit. Get this off my TV.
Speaking of killing in grade 3, that's one of my earliest memories of like making schoolmates laugh. Is first day of grade 3. We go into our classroom and we meet our teacher, and she introduces herself and she says, "My name is Mrs. Burke," and I put my hand up and I go, "Can we call you Mrs. Burke's backyard?" Kills. Everyone loves
Good
it.
stuff.
She
Right.
puts me in detention. She's like,
Oh.
"No, you may not. You're staying back
Maybe
up
she
to
knew
school."
something. Maybe she knew something about Don that nobody else knew.
Yeah, she was
Yes.
tapped into the early showbiz rumors in like 93 or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
she'd work.
Wait, do you reckon parents back then were just oblivious though? Like Burke, we look back on Burke now and go, of course he was sus. Look at him. And same with Rolf. I got taken to a Rolf concert at Twin Towns, Tweed Heads. Couldn't have loved it more. My parents took me down there with I was about 8 or 9.
Oh no.
I was in the Rolf Harris fan club. It was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Turning pictures upside down. I loved it.
This
Yeah.
is
And
complaining a
Looking
lot,
back,
Heggie.
why'd they take? Yeah. Still got all these records. Yeah, I think
Man,
it's
my parents took me to see him. I've told this on the pod before, but my parents took me to see him when I was about 5 or 6 or something like that. And it was just him at the train station for some reason in my hometown of Maryborough. Got up there and I was like trying to get him to sign a bit of paper. He's like, wouldn't have a bar of me. Like no interest at all. It's like, fuck, I was the one kid that he rejected. Pretty brutal.
yeah. Well, the word on the street is when the little red light's off, not such a nice guy. It's one of those types.
Oh,
And,
Heggie's got the exclusive. Wow. Okay.
Well, no,
The word is. Oh yeah.
The word from like prison. The word.
Yeah.
Like he's in jail, dude. We know.
No, the word was around that
right.
time. If he wasn't, if it wasn't on, he'd gladly just kick a kid or whatever. Who gives a fuck? Unless there's a camera around or someone to report it.
Right.
Mobile phones done a lot for this sort of thing.
Yeah, right.
I'm actually pretty grateful that camera phones didn't exist for most of our teenage years. Actually, Heggie, I wondered what it would be like. Our eldest is now 17, and I see the kind of non-stop documentation of their escapades that goes on, and almost live broadcasting via Snapchat and TikTok what they do. I don't know how you or I would have ever recovered from some of the shit that used to go on when we were kids.
I wouldn't have a job.
Oh yeah. What about you two? This is the story I've heard of you guys in a car together going past the premiere of The Sixth Sense in Brisbane. Is that right?
Oh, I've forgotten this happened. I'm horrible. I'm 11 and a half years sober now. All right. And there's good reason because much like the aforementioned eldest, she has a peanut allergy and she has an allergic reaction to peanuts. It's not great. Quite a few kids have that. I have an allergic reaction to alcohol that when I drink it, I turn into a fuckwit. And at the time I didn't know better, but now I know better. So I do better. But at the time I thought it was hilarious. I can't remember even whose car it was in.
I think it was Miles. Fucking brilliant. Well, I still think about it. Like when you're 18, that's a sick joke. So funny.
Well, let's hear the joke.
I think it was the Eldorado in Indooroopilly. We're driving past the Eldorado in Indooroopilly, which is right by the train station. And in the words of Luke Heggie, I was out up to my waist in window as we turned past the Eldorado on the way to the bridge. Apparently, I screamed out the window to a line of people waiting up to watch Sixth Sense. Bruce Willis is the ghost the whole time.
I love you setting that story up, Osher, going like, don't drink anymore. This is the kind of thing that I used to think was cool, but we're like here today now going, that's cool.
Let's do that now. Yeah.
Are there any Netflix series I can spoil in lockdown? Just driving past people's houses, just screaming out.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Tiger King. So this is, this is fascinating. You guys growing up together and you're painting a picture of Queensland at that time and what it was like. And I'm fascinated to know the divergent paths where Heggie's attitude seems to have, Queensland at that time seems to have crushed him and really done its work on him. Whereas Osher,
fucking fine. I'm right here. Yeah, I'm fucking fine. Talk about me like I'm a fucking exhibit.
Proving my point.
The thing is, like, I reckon this is a lot like the Luke Heggie you're seeing right now in this podcast is a lot like, for me personally, because I've known him a very long time, this is a lot like a wrestling persona. All right, the actual Luke Heggie, which is why I love his stand-up, because you see it in you've got to see at the core of his stand-up. You've got to look inside the cable stitch sweater to see the yarn, see the ball.
Yeah.
That's what I wear.
He's such a clever man. Like he's got like 2 fucking honors degrees or a master's degree. He was going to do a PhD. Like he's the smartest guy, most compassionate, most loving human being, but just has zero time for fuckwittery or bullshit. And
can't even believe I'm here.
Yeah. I wonder why you've only said about 5 words so far, Heggie, but now I get it. Yeah,
I remember, high school was, we went to the kind of high school which was we went to the same high school as well. It was kind of like the high school for the sons of the landed gentry and their lawyers, basically.
There was some catters there. That'll give you a tip.
Yeah. Oh, like Bob Catter's family.
Bob Catter's progeny.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Like all the sort of, if you can say this, bit of a the hoity-toity of Brisbane were in amongst these sorts of schools, but there are also grubs there. They let a few grub kids in.
I love you going, if I can say this, I'm like, hang on, geez, we're going to have to edit something out here for a minute. And then it's like, hoity-toity. It's like, no, that's fine. You can say that, Heggie.
He's not lying, because our school was actually right across the road from the Liberal Party headquarters of Queensland. And there were a couple kids in our school who would finish school and then walk across the road for their Young Liberals meetings. I didn't know what the fuck was. I didn't know what politics was. I had no idea. But I remember in the schoolyard, I won't say their names out loud, but I remember in the schoolyard, these 2 or 3 particular boys would get into shouting matches with the other boys whose dads were in the unions, and they would stand. Remember that? They would stand in the schoolyard and shout at each other. I remember looking around going, I was always interested in was guitars. I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. Yeah. And I remember just, what is going on? I don't even understand. But yeah, it was that kind of school. There was more than a couple kids that we went to school with that, they would just literally fall asleep on their desk. And then by the time we were 20, they were now the general manager of the pub that their dad owned.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, right. Okay. That's why you
golden handshakes. Yeah,
that's a great analogy that you make, Osher, about Heggie in his stand-up being like a wrestling character. I love the idea of you really zeroing in on that and going as hard as you can to the point where you're such a stand-up villain that in a one-man show, when you walk out onto the stage, people are already booing you because they're like, here he comes.
Who's he going to give it to tonight? Is it left-handed people? Is it vegetarians?
Like when Andre the Giant turned heel, it was like the earth shook.
Yeah. Yeah, you in like a cape and mask when you do your solo shows would be fucking awesome.
I think that's why I love Luke's stand-up so much, because I know the man, and it's just, you've got to kind of, he writes, I think for a lot of the time, Luke writes his stand-up to amuse himself.
Yeah. Someone's got to like it.
When he rags shit on cyclists for 10 straight minutes, you're like, hang on.
Yeah. Don't you ride a bike?
Love bikes. Just don't like other people on them.
Right. That's the problem, the people on the bikes. You like the bikes.
I mean, that you boys might enjoy this. We had B105 in Brisbane, which I believe still exists. Might be called something else, but Osher was a Black
radio
Thunder driver.
You're talking about, yeah,
radio station. Osher was a Black Thunder driver when we were 18, I think, 18, 20. 19.
And Black Thunder's like, you go out and drive like a promo car for the radio station. You mean?
That's right, Carl. We're on the corner of Old Cleveland Road and Grand Street, Cooperoo. I've got some icy cold cans of Coke in the video. Easy movie of the week, The Sixth Sense. Bruce Willis. What is he at the end?
He's still got it.
Maybe I should just be driving a fucking Bronco around to an Ampol, giving out cans of drink and shit. But occasionally he'd ring up. I remember running down the end of my street and getting in it while you were driving it and sitting at the lights, and you just had the handbrake on, just fucking gunning it. It was just going up and down. It's like it wasn't even in the movies yet, that move, from what I could see. But it's like in those American films, just going up and down. Jesus Christ, it's a bit much even for me. But I loved it that you were destroying other people's property. I really enjoyed it.
I had a little regard for how the world worked at that point in time. I didn't really understand. I'm like, oh, this car can bounce. Why don't we just make it bounce? I didn't realize that it was like a $60,000 car that belonged to a radio station, which employed me at the time. And then if I broke it, my employment may be in jeopardy. I was like, this is fun. I'll do this.
Why would they put the bounce function in there if you weren't meant to be using it all of the time? What's the point of having it?
Exactly. If you have a 94 Patrol and you put your toe on the brake and then you engage first as you go, the suspension lifts it up, and it was actually really fun.
So you're getting into radio. You're getting into radio by then, Osher. So how come it takes so long for Heggie to get into the media then? Like, so you're going that way. What's Heggie doing?
Heggie was on radio, man. Heggie would call me up and we'd do prank calls in the middle of the night on radio.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
I was like Guido Hatzis in Brisbane.
So you were doing racist stereotypes, but in Queensland, so you really had to up your game.
No, it wasn't a racist stereotype. If anything, I think we're ripping off Billy Birmingham, I think. If that'd be about it, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I had a job. I had a midnight till 8 a.m. job on a called Tele Cafe. You'd remember this, Carl, being a like it was pre-internet dating, so telephone introduction line. Yeah,
Really?
and I'd have to monitor the phones.
So what would you do?
Well, people would ring up, and there's a woman's line and a men's line. People ring up and go, "Hey, I got a big throbbing, want to meet you," and they'd have to go, "Sorry, guys, bit rude. This is more long walks on the beach, candlelit dinners, sort of thing." So
You're like
you'd
Hitch.
have to. What's that?
You're like Hitch, but on the phone.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, I didn't have to talk to them. There's like eight buttons saying, "I think you're too young. You're a woman on the man's line. You're a man on the woman's line.
Right.
You're being too rude. Whatever." I could pull the little thing down and tell someone to fuck off, which was quite fun.
You're like a switchboard operator, like the old school sort of like pull one plug out, put it in another plug.
Not quite, but yeah, yeah, sort of. Yeah.
On Twitch, when you have the auto bot that doesn't let you put swear words or racist things on the chat, he was like the live version of that.
Right.
Like, you're like, I like chicks with white ones. I don't want any ones that aren't white. It's like, yeah, okay, let's just push the button.
Yeah. Oh, sick.
What was wild? This is people got to understand this about. This is the kind of man Luke Heggie is. Like when he wants to work, he fucking works, right? So he would do this job from midnight till 8 a.m. Then I think he would go and work at a corner store or something. Then he would go to uni, go home and sleep for an hour, and then go back and he would just do that every day of the week. He would just work absolute ring out. He always has.
But you could catch a bit of sleep on this job. Like you just had to press a button every 5 minutes because about sort of 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. There's not many people on the introduction line. Well, hardly no one. So, but you had to wake up every 5 minutes and press something. So you just you could train yourself to just sleep and just every 5 minutes just hit a button.
Also, but like, who's looking for the love of their life at 3 a.m.?
Oh, you joke about that, but yeah, there's a few Queenslanders out there.
Yeah.
That is the words of a man who's been married from before Tinder became a thing, Carl. Plenty of people trying to find the love of their life at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I love the idea that there's maybe people listening to this who've been married for a very, very long time and then thinking like they got together back in the day through this hotline and just recognizing the voice of Luke Heggie and going, that's the man. That's the man who connected me with my now wife. Just seeing you on the gala.
Heggie, the baby maker. We're kind of... Heggie was always very much an academic guy. He was on the way to becoming... He was a very academic person. And, at the time, he did a lot of things at university, not, limited to maybe helping people in the tutorial rooms not know what time of day it was because the clocks in there were really quite good. And Heggie occasionally would just find a way to remove the clocks at the university he was at.
I might have told you this, Carl. I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah, I used to flog. I went to they had like a logo on each clock, just an analog clock on the wall. So I was just getting for people as presents for birthday, Christmas, that sort of thing. You'd have to go in. I went once with a ladder and got a high one during a lecture, but generally it'd just be screwdriver,
Yeah,
whenever.
right. Just turning the uni into like casinos and making sure there's no clocks in there, so no one ever knows what time it is. They don't want to
Much.
Stealing the windows as well.
Yeah.
But he was incredibly successful at that, and Luke's always been very good at being able to do anything he really, really wants to. But Brisbane's a small town, mate. It was at the time, it was quite the cow town, and pretty much everyone, by the time you're 17, 18, all you're feeling is the slingshot, the tension of the slingshot just getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and you just cannot wait. Just get the fuck out of there. And I think by the time Luke finished, I think you were already overseas. I remember coming to visit you. How long had you been overseas when I came to visit you in at that mansion?
England?
Yeah.
Oh, probably a year and a half. No, nearly 2 years, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, he was working out in some sort of leafy green place out in
Hampshire.
Out in the woodlands, and I went and visited him, and he was out there just getting away from
working on a sex line, but in England now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm well horny in it.
looking after incredibly posh people's holiday home. I think that's what he was. It was kind of like a guy who was a curator of a massive, Downton Abbey kind of mansion, and he was out.
Really? I mean,
Yeah.
you do have strong gardener vibes, Heggie, I have to say.
I fucking love gardening. I've been a gardener. It's good.
Yeah.
Gardening there is pretty good, actually. Here sucks. I don't know if, well,
Why?
obviously no one's gardening. It's fucking hot. It's real hot. Like Queensland in particular. The ground's hard. It's hot. Try digging a hole. Nightmare. England.
So how many jobs have you had all up? Like if you put together a proper CV, Heggie, how many different jobs have you had? 50, 60, 70?
That's 75, I think.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
How
that
many
was
of them-
before comedy.
How many of those 75 jobs do you have some sort of qualification so you can do it legally?
I mean, I've never been a fake doctor or something. That's what you mean.
That's big of you. Yeah.
No, I mean, like, you were a deckhand for a while, but you can't just do that. You've got to kind of,
yeah.
boats can kill people. You kind of have to be qualified to do that kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've got heaps of.
A deckhand.
Yeah. My sort of CV for a while did read like MacGyver's, but I wasn't anywhere near as good as him. But
Right.
I think they expire, all this stuff, if you don't keep up. Like I got a forklift license. I think that's gone.
Mhm.
'Cause I haven't driven one for 10 years. But yeah, I don't know. Heaps of shit. Just little
us your-
bits of
You've-
shit.
Give us your number one favorite and your least favorite of the 75 odd jobs that you've done.
Jobs. Oh, I mean, stand-up comedy's up there, obviously. I'm a purist.
What's
I
up
bloody
there?
love it.
It's up there. Top 30.
It's no
With a bullet.
deckhand. It's no horny 3 a.m. switchboard operator, but it's not
Yeah,
bad.
it's good. Probably, I said this on here before. I think I used to transcribe police interview videos for suspected murderers. That was
that's
a
right.
fucking good job. That
I
was
don't know if you
said
have.
that
I
to
don't know
us?
if you
I
have.
don't.
Yeah.
I think I'd remember that.
Yeah,
It was
right.
some reality show. It was for a reality show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it started for TV, but then I kept doing it after. It was some fucking show, but it was just like the shit CCTV footage, black and white usually, of just a interview room and a murderer, being questioned the day after.
So you started doing it for a TV show, and then you just did it in your own time for your own hobby after that.
Yeah.
Took my
Just
work home
gear
with me.
yourself
No, I
up a
kept,
bit.
no, they used to drop off more afterwards. You go, this guy's fairly fast, but I wasn't fast. I'd just stay up all night doing it because I loved it.
Yeah.
And, it's very interesting. So I just kept doing some. Still got some DVDs.
Oh, yeah.
Like these are guys that, and I'm guessing usually they're white men. The day after they have done something horrible to someone that was probably their intimate partner, because it's a fucking scourge in our community. What were some of the commonalities that you found that these men would say?
And what were the ones you kept?
I don't know. I haven't looked at them for 10 years, but things like, I fucking told you, cunts, I didn't do it, stuff like that. Just
Right.
classic guilty sentences.
Yeah.
You can
You'd
tell
have a
within 5
shortcut.
seconds.
You'd have a shortcut for a statement like that on your keyboard anyway. That's a thing that comes up quite often.
Yeah, it's
your
like the court
correspondence.
stenographer keyboard.
Yeah.
So they're just like whatever they are. They're not like letters. It's
F2
like
shortcut.
use
Yeah.
has its own key for this kind of stuff.
That's it. That's in my Control V already. I told you, cunts.
Yeah.
Bang. Got it.
When you get it, when you're transcribing an "I told yous cunts" kind of guy, let's say they get to a point where they're just like misusing a word or like saying the word completely wrong. What is your obligation as a transcriber? Are you kind of editing it and correcting it, or are you just you've got to put it in verbatim as spoken?
Yeah, you put it in verbatim. I
Yeah.
loved it. Like
Yeah.
you'd misspell stuff that they did deliberately. Yeah, it's good.
Just have a
Would you type "your" without an apostrophe just to fuck them?
yeah. I just want to get the vibe across. I can tell that that's what they'd be doing if they were typing this.
Yeah.
I got to be honest.
Oh, eventually, after a while, you just ignore what they said and just write, "Yeah, I fucking did it." And hand that in.
So you've had all these jobs, Heggie. Now at some stage, Osher, you've now gotten into showbiz, and I assume from what we've heard from Heggie over the years, he's had a few behind scenes jobs. that, I mean, I'm assuming you helped him out with. He's working backstage on shows that you've worked on or other shows. Is that the link there? Because the way I've seen it from afar is that you're the, you know how this often happens when they bring out some champion racehorse from England to try and win the Melbourne Cup. And then to placate the horse, they bring over his little Shetland pony, mate. I assume that's your relationship there.
Personally, while Luke unfortunately did bear the brunt of being the shortest one out of all of our mates up until the end of grade 12, at the end of that summer, he was then now taller than everybody else. He waited until school was over, and then boom, an extra foot. Like it just became taller than all of us, and I'm now the short one. No, I was working on Idol, and I could see they were hiring people everywhere. And Heggie had just come back from, I think he'd been overseas in Ireland, I think was the last week. He'd already met his now wife, and I'm like, oh man, there's gigs here, and he's like, yeah, all right. And then that was it, which led to some fantastic stories. I think Luke used to have to drive. One of his jobs was driving the high ace of all the Australian Idol contestants around. And
what's that, coming in at job number 34, high ace driver?
This is literally like countdown of Heggie's best all-time. Idol high ace driver from Luke Heggie, also on lead guitar. And so Heggie would, I think one of his gigs was, it's basically like it's quite a trusted role, because you're working in reality TV, and these people are they're participants in a show. There's a duty of care. You have to be careful of them. Some of them aren't 18, so you can't just give it to a punter runner. You have to give it to someone who kind of knows what's going on.
Yeah, someone who works with a sex line. Yeah, you got to get them in.
Yeah,
someone mature and discreet.
Heggie, he was quite mature and quite discreet until recently, when some of the stories started coming out.
So we found out what
he doesn't mention any names, but I know exactly who he's talking about when he tells the story about in the back he kept smoking. It's fucking amazing.
Oh, I told you guys on this, I'm sure. I booted some fuckhead out on the street. It was quite remote, actually. Just get out, finish your cigarette, and then I just drove off.
What about you told us recently about you driving one of these things and having quite a big name in comedy in the back seat you were driving around.
Me?
Do you want to tell that one or not? No, you don't want to tell that one? Okay, all right.
I don't know. Like, is everyone really worried that, because you guys, from people who aren't watching the Zoom, everyone's body language just went really stiff for a moment. They're like, we daren't name what's going on. I just got so scared because even Heggie doesn't want to tell this. I was like, oh, gee, I fucked up this. I thought he would talk about anything. What is it like in comedy? What, does someone call up the Melbourne International Comedy Festival and go, right, that's it, Dassilo, Chandler, Heggie, blacklisted for the next year? All of us.
It'd be hard to tell if me and Dassler were blacklisted, to be fair. It might affect Heggie.
Yeah.
It happened in 2020. We were talking shit on the podcast, and then all of a sudden we couldn't do a comedy festival show anymore. They actually they called the whole thing off because of us playing up.
We actually got blacklisted about 10 years ago because of something we said. It was our stand-up comedy, just normal, the content of it. It was more of a quality blacklisting than anything else.
It was, hey, lovely to be here. They were like, nah, this is too much.
Not for us.
Actually, this does remind me. If you do listen to Luke's other podcast, if you do listen to Luke's podcast, Mid-Flight Brawl, you'll know that one of the many objects of his derision of the top 10 after cyclists and vegans, bloggers in there. Bloggers definitely in there. But what you may not realize is that Luke Heggie, I actually helped Luke Heggie become almost an analog blogger in the mid-90s.
How does that work? An analog blogger?
Well, Osher was always a bit of a fucking bit of a leader. What do you say in technology? A early adopter of stuff. He had the internet and shit. We didn't fucking know anything about it. He got me an email account. Still got it. Hotmail. Like in 96. Something early times. Doing that shit.
Still rocking the same email address from back then.
Well, I've got a few others as well, which, but still got the Hotmail, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Why would you change it?
Yep.
It's not changing your fucking phone number.
I've still got Yahoo. Yeah.
Perfect, mate. Why would you ever think that would come across as unprofessional when you're doing a negotiation?
No, but honestly, Hotmail for me is like a step up. Like someone will make a joke about, oh, I've still got Hotmail. I'll be like, fuck, I haven't made it to Hotmail yet. I'm Yahoo. Like I was thinking about making it up to Hotmail and didn't make the jump.
Yeah.
So,
Was Yahoo pre-Hotmail? I thought it came
so.
after. All right.
Oh, maybe.
When was Big Pond? Big Pond and
After
some
all
other.
that. Yeah, after
Big
Aussie
Pond
Mail.
was after that. Aussie
Yeah,
Mail. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Email.
Big Pond's more boomer. That's like we've gotten the home internet set up and Telstra have chucked in an email address as well, and we're just going to use that because we don't know how to sign up to Gmail or anything.
Well, to be fair, I made the jump to Yahoo from dodo.com.au.
Oh, yes. That's
I think,
great.
I think as professionalism goes, people would look down upon a Big Pond, Aussie Mail, or Dodo way more than a Hotmail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now.
So Heggie
Yeah.
Heggie was on the road. He was traveling on one of his many, many, many adventures across North America. Well, he's been across South America and Africa and stuff like that, but it was across North America, and he would handwrite letters to me of what was going on in Canada, and I would get these letters in the post and I would transcribe them and put them up, hand code an HTML web page. And if you look in the Wayback Machine, you'll probably find it was called Letters from Luke.
Oh really?
Okay.
Yeah. And it's sometime, I think 96, you were there in Kelowna in British Columbia. And so he would write these letters to me, handwrite these letters to me, and then I would transcribe them. So what you're seeing now on Luke Heggie on stage, he's always been that. He's always done that. And
A blogger.
Yeah.
your observations of the world, the way you look at people are, telling, the way you told the story about how you didn't stand up during a national anthem at an NBL game. And some of the people in the crowd were a bit upset that you didn't want to.
I don't like that.
Osher, you typing out these letters from Heggie is sort of the same thing, but more bone chilling than Heggie transcribing the serial killer interviews.
It's the words of a serial killer that didn't kill anyone. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
It was pretty cool. And Luke, I think around that time, Luke started publishing his own. I remember the first draft of one of his books. He sent 3 exercise books to me of one of his early books that he published. He's always.
We don't even know anything about these books he's published. Do we know anything about that?
No, they don't exist. They've gone.
What were the books?
Well, it's just books about people, dickheads, whatever.
Mills and Boone and Heggie.
Yeah, no, I think
much.
the term is manifesto actually, but yeah.
It was a manifesto.
It was very much a what then would evolve into his very verbose stand-up style. And if you saw Heggie maybe 3 or 4 years ago, his stand-up was very, very, very dense, and it did remind me of what was in these exercise books, which would be these graphic recountings of what would go on in the bottle shop out at Bellbarry, where he, Bottle-O, if you've seen any of Luke's sitcom that he wrote, Bottle-O is based upon that, and I would just roaring, laughing, rolling around on the floor, reading these things, these exercise books that he sent me. He's got extraordinarily neat handwriting, by the way, and. Just brilliant stuff. So when Luke went to comedy, it made complete sense to me. It made complete sense that he would do this, because he was always the funniest person I ever knew, with a way of
Osher,
the world. Yeah.
Can I say this? This is not meant as anything offensive or anything, but you sound like Luke's mum. The amount of love and description and how talented your little boy Lukey is in this podcast so far. It's like, it sounds like he's come from your loins.
Yeah, you really do seem to love your job as the webmaster of lettersfromluke.com. That seems like your favorite media.
You try not to get sacked from that job. Is that what this is all about?
I'm not coming on this podcast ever again without him. But you two are fucking bullies. And,
Yeah,
just try to remember this, all right?
That's it. I feel like this is a fair fight. The love and sunshine coming from Osher against the black light coming from me and Tommy. There's obviously a lot of love between you. But is that the only job that you worked on together? Like, have you didn't do any like backstage at Channel V, or you didn't do any backstage at The Bachelor or anything like that?
When I got back from a trip, I came to Sydney. I was staying on Osher's couch for fucking 6 months, and we just played Scrabble and pinball, and he was working, and I was just doing odd jobs and shit. But I got a few TV jobs. Then Idol was the only one, I think. I was on Idol for 2 seasons.
It's so good, your approach to that job, where it's like your mate, he's hosting the show, he gets you in, and then your immediate impulse is, I'd better play up with this job. It's like the host's reputation is on the line, but I'm going to get in here and immediately be a dickhead. It's just so good.
There's a distinct separation. It wasn't like Osher had to come into the office where I was during the week and shit.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't have to.
To be fair, I would love to have seen someone come into Osher's office and sort of go, sorry, mate, you're out. We're going to have to replace you with Ernie Sigley or someone because your little mate over here did a burnout in the Tarago. So you're off the show. Sorry, mate.
Luke was never that. Luke was never that. Never that obtuse with his larrikinism. He was always very, very
sneaky,
very subtle with his larrikinism, and just these tiny little moments that would help him keep his sanity in these otherwise, in these gigs that would sometimes test his patience, particularly when he's dealing with, in some cases, reality TV contestants who
I had the funnest part of that job was going on those audition tours. They're quite fun, but you just get every lunatic come out from everywhere and just so thousands.
The tours where you go to a town, they do a cattle call for an audition, and everyone would rock up for that, right?
Yeah,
that is the dream for me. Yeah.
Oh man, it's pretty fun, but then it's tedious, and they stink like an auditorium full of teenage stinkies, and they'd have to plow through them before they get to the one you see on TV where there's the bozos and the talented singers. They'd have to just plow through thousands of fucking people like you and me, like whoever, just rolling in and going, I'll give it a crack. And the producers had a tough time keeping up, and they'd be a lineup. I'd be bringing people in, go, right, you finished, get out. And the producers went for lunch, and I just went into the room and go, right, next. And I'd hear a few and go, yeah, sorry, you haven't really got what it takes. Just to get through them quicker. But not if they were, like I wasn't complete. If they were good, I'd go, yeah, I'll stick around. You'll have to see the producer. But, we all know. You know when you know.
Yeah. If they're doing a song, if they're doing a bit of Red Hot Chili Peppers, and you're like, nah, don't fancy Anthony Kiedis, you can piss off actually.
Oh yeah, for sure. Some song choice was key in my criteria.
And every year there would be the same song. There was one year where every young woman would do the Alicia Keys song.
Mm-hmm. I was sick.
And it was just every 4 out of 5 young ladies would sing that track, and it's got a very, very tricky bit that not many, if any, of them ever got. Right. And you'd have to sit through this moment. But look, that was the job, and that was the gig, and it was a lot of fun. Those tours are really fun. We're out for ages. We're out for like 6-8 weeks at a time. And what eventually started happening is we created this on the road poker tournament. And so me and Heggie and Jimmy and Diggers and Holden, Money Mark Holden's actually a pretty good poker player. Mm-hmm. And we would just sit around.
Really? I wouldn't imagine he had a very good poker face. I would have thought you would have probably known about it.
He's good.
He's a really decent man. Mark Holden's a very decent man. And we were just basically wherever accommodation we were staying at, I'd be like, do you have a conference room or something? Like, yeah. It's like, is anybody using it at 9:00 tonight? And they went, no. I'm like, great. And so we just roll into this conference room, and sometimes the overnight guys, they'll be looking for something to do. And we said, do you guys mind opening a bar? Yeah, all right. And so we're sitting there. I remember this one. Yeah, we'd sit there in Perth, and they'd occasionally, you guys want any drinks? Oh yeah, and we'll just put it on the room, put it on the tab that you sign out anyway, and it was fucking great. We'd sit there just playing poker all night because there's fucking nothing else to do really in Adelaide or whatever. So it was great.
This is great. The game of poker, we need a full conference room to get this off the ground. We couldn't possibly do it in one of our own rooms. We need to commandeer an entire auditorium.
Big table, Tommy. You need the big boardroom table.
True.
No? Yeah. We wouldn't get the massive room where they have the, the hair expo or something. We'd have the,
I love the idea of you booting out the hair expo. No. There's some important Australian Idol business happening in here. I've got a full house, so everyone fuck off.
It was actually really fun. And, the people, what was great about that gig is the people that worked on that job, it often happens, and I'm sure you see it in comedy as well. The people that orbited around that level of show and the success that show had have all kind of spun off. And now some of those people have gone on to, the people that sat around that poker table have gone on to be like the massive executive producer showrunners of humongous shiny floor shows. And the fuckers are 10 years younger than me.
Those people never letting Heggie on the show because he fleeced them at a game of poker. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I don't get about TV sometimes, because it'll be like, you'll see some gossip on the Daily Mail or whatever. It's like, oh, this person on what's the breakfast show on Channel 7 called again? Sunrise. Like, oh, we're going to boot this person off Sunrise. They're on $1 million a year, but we're going to boot them. And then let's cut to a picture of the executive producer. It's like, that guy's 22 years old. What the fuck's happening?
Don't worry. He's only been the executive producer for about 10 days. Like, on those gigs.
But that's everything, right? Like you have certain jobs that in your life where, when you're younger, when you're in your early 20s, like everyone seems older than you. And like real estate agents is the classic one where it's like you have a rental inspection and you go, oh, fuck, the real estate agent's coming around, and it's like the guy turns up at the front door and it's like, this is a 21-year-old wearing a suit that doesn't fit. Like, why am I fucking scared of this guy? Why am I dancing around this guy? Pretty brutal when
some fucking guy in a 90s BMW with a clipboard telling you, to clean up your house.
Yeah.
Fucking grubby.
Yeah, still lives with his parents, telling me how to live my life in my share house. Brutal stuff.
Yeah, his dad's his last name's the same name on the real estate agents, billboard. The guys we were speaking about before, with a pink shirt and some hair, their face on a bus stop. Those guys showing up. Yeah.
Hey, Osher, I wanted to ask you something. Now, when we get a guest on of who we haven't had on before, someone of your stature, we'll do a bit of research, by which I mean we'll go on their Wikipedia. And I've never thought to do this before, but I've found something about you on your Wikipedia that is listed as it's citation needed. And I thought this could be a good opportunity for us. If we can get you to confirm this fact from your Wikipedia, then we can be listed as the citation. That's like a good way. Yeah. It's like a good way of us advertising the podcast is if we just start showing up in the footnotes of people's Wikipedia pages.
Very appropriate.
Trying to help us get the word out a little bit.
Yeah. Next time we do a live show, we can say as seen on Osher Günsberg's Wikipedia page.
Exactly.
It's not bad credit for us.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just a little factoid about you that is on your Wikipedia. It's got citation needed next to it. It says Osher was active in the Brisbane band scene between 1994 and 1997, playing electric bass in Feebles Junkie and double bass in the Resin Dogs.
Oh, the Resin Dogs. Is that
correct?
True?
Yeah, I was. I played fretless and 5-string in Feebles, and I played double bass in an early they were Resin Dogs. It started as me, Catch, and Dave, just the three of us, just jamming. And there was a couple of other MCs. Lazy Gray was one of the MCs that joined us. Shawnee B was another MC that joined us. And then we were just jamming, and it became, we obviously realized that there was something pretty good going on. Obviously, Dave Atkins was my hero. He played in a band called Pangea, which was the band that Eli from Regurgitated.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then famously, their manager gave they had the same manager, and the cassette in the olden days, he gave the cassette to Warner Brothers, and on one side it was Pangea, on the other side it was Regurgitator, and Regurgitator got the deal.
Really?
Yeah, that's the story. Anyway, Dave Atkins played in Pangea, and I love Dave Atkins. He produced one of my band's CDs. We had a couple of CDs, my band Feebles Junkie, and Dave Atkins produced one of the CDs. He knew I played double bass. And so he called me up and said, hey, man, just come around and I'm drumming, Catches DJing. And I just couldn't believe it. Like, because I'm, big fan of hip hop and I loved the sound, that kind of 90s sound that borrowed loops and jazz bits of jazz records and hits and snare hits and trumpet hits and things like that. And it was just amazing fun. And so we used to do gigs at a place in Brisbane called Rick's Cafe and a place called the Zoo. And we played at the Libid Festival as well, which was super, super fun. And then they ended up getting a far better bass player than me, a guy by the name of Chris Bosley. And before Dwayne Johnson, he was Chris the Rock Bosley, because he was as a rock. He was a human metronome. And once they got Bosley on board, they went to international success. So getting rid of him was a very clever move, because they went global as soon as I was
excited to read that, because the Resin Dogs were the first concert that I went to. And I was wondering, did a young Tommy Dassolo see a young Osher Günsberg ripping the bass up there at the Vibes on a Summer's Day Festival, opening for Groove Armada and Jamiroquai, the first concert I ever went to.
I left the band right before that.
Okay.
Okay.
So is that enough confirmation for Wikipedia, or do we need to get Yumi Steins and James Matheson to sign off on that as well?
How many sources does Wikipedia need?
Yeah.
This is enough. You should get on there and you should mark this down as truth and fact.
Yeah, anyone listening, get on there. This is the citation.
You get credited. Maybe mention too that he plays the theremin while you're at it. Whack that in Wikipedia.
Okay.
Doesn't everyone play the theremin? Can't everyone?
That's the sort of instrument you get out at a party, isn't it? Just by
the campfire, play a bit of Wonderwall on the theremin.
This is pre-Wonderwall. It's before Wonderwall even came out. I played theremin in a Brisbane band called Full Fathom 5 for a while. It was really fun.
I remember that band.
Yeah.
I like that by the end of this podcast that the music section of your Wikipedia at the moment is just that little bit that I read out. I like that by the end of this podcast, the music section of your Wikipedia could be longer than the television section of your Wikipedia. We just keep adding bands and instruments.
I played double bass for a country band called the Crying Skies. No G. It was an apostrophe. Crying Skies.
Yeah. Great.
Yep. I played double bass in the country band called Crying Skies for a while. That was here in Brisbane. Proper country, because we had 10 people. So you're not country unless you hit double figures. That was a lot of fun. I
remember you being a roadie for Millionaires and Teddy Bears.
That's right.
I wanted to ask you about
how to drive.
I wanted to ask you about being a roadie, because we talked on the show last week. We had John Safran on, and I wanted to read a review of his book, and it was behind the paywall. So I had to subscribe to The Australian in order to read this interview, which when I was looking up stuff about you this morning, Osher, there's an interview with you behind the paywall on The Australian. So I just wanted to once again mention that I'm using this subscription to The Australian to get facts about you being a roadie, so that I can claim this back on tax. I don't have to feel too bad about being a paid up subscriber of The Australian. But I
was a
roadie. Yeah.
I was a roadie for a couple of different bands, actually, and Millionaires and Teddy Bears was one of them. It was wild. I got that job because he was the driving instructor that taught Luke how to drive, and the keyboard player was a driving instructor that taught Luke how to drive, and I had failed my first driving test, and I'm like, well, this guy seems to know what he's doing, so I got the number of Heggie, and he taught me how to drive.
I failed my first one. They just did that. Then I don't know if they'd still do it, but they just made you fail for fuck all. Come back next week, give us some more money.
Right.
What you didn't have anything in specific you did wrong? They just had it out for you.
Well, I did. I swerved to miss a dog that ran out.
So if you had hit the dog, you would have got your license. Is that what you're saying?
Probably, yeah. You're not supposed to.
Point in time in the 90s Queensland, it was like, mate, it's fucking roadkill. Just fucking go.
It's like Mario Kart. You get more energy if you run over the dog. Yeah, okay.
You never fucking survive out the back of Goondiwindi if you keep swerving. Through it.
So wait, this guy from this band.
I ended up failing my driving test the first time twice, because when I moved to America, And I got my driving license in California when I was living over there. I failed it the first time there as well. So as a 32-year-old man, I failed my fucking driving test the first time.
Oh, Jesus. So wait,
Shameful, mate.
this guy from this band was your driving instructor, and then you end up becoming a roadie for that band through him becoming your driving instructor?
Yeah, because he knew we were talking, goes, oh, what are you doing? I said, I haven't got a job at the moment. I was a roadie, but the band I used to work for, they've moved out of Brisbane, they've moved somewhere else. And I was a lighting guy, and I told him, I used to run the lights and put the PAs together and stuff like that. And he goes, oh, my band's looking for a lighting guy. And that was it.
Right.
That was it.
That's great. Well, I know you can drive. I'm sitting here next to you watching you do it. That's all the proof I need.
Yeah, you switch, it's 7 o'clock, you put the high beams on. You must know your lighting. Okay. Get in.
I knew what was up. I knew what was up.
Well, I guess we better wrap it up for another week on the Little Dum Dum Club. Osher and Heggie, thank you so much for joining us.
Been a pleasure.
We didn't even get into the fact that Osher was part of a magical part of my life when we all stayed together in New York City about 10 years ago. And this
is the first time I've seen both of you since that night.
Yeah,
I wasn't there.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
were at you there, but you weren't staying there.
Yeah, I wasn't staying there. That's right. Yeah,
you were at the club later on, but Dassolo was. Yeah, that was the first time I met you. It was like 5:00 in the morning too, wasn't it?
We all stayed together in an Airbnb. It was us and Nick Cody, and we'd been out one night drinking. I think Osher, you stayed with us for a couple of nights, and then you were interviewing someone for maybe the project or something. So they'd put you up in a hotel. So us and Nick Cody had gone out drinking. We're walking around New York. I've lost our key, so we're now locked out of our Airbnb. We have to call the host to get a replacement key, but we can't get onto him because it's like the middle of the night. And there's a video where we're just killing time in a diner. And
so this is by about 6 a.m. by this point, isn't it? Like you guys have been up all night. You're absolutely rooted.
Yeah, and I think we knew that we could go and kill some time at Osher's hotel when he woke up, but we're just killing time. We're walking around the city, and there's a video of me having fallen asleep in a diner against the window, and you and Cody around the other side of the window, Heggie knocking on the window and waking me up, and it's me with the most startled look on a person's face that you could ever hope to see. Because I've been up all night, and when you just drift into sleep after like being up all night, and it's just the deepest sleep, and it doesn't matter that I'm sitting up and my head is against a window or whatever. I am just completely out, and the shock of being woken up by tapping on the glass, realizing that I've fallen asleep upright, I'm in another country, like it's just all hitting me all at once. But I guess we can replay in the week.
Fucking hit me. This was a valuable lesson for me to just trust my first instincts, because I didn't know you.
Yeah,
I met you. I thought this guy's a fuckhead, but then he has he's volunteered to be in charge of the key. He must know. He must be all right. He must know what he's doing. You didn't. You fucking lost it, like the loser that you are.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the end of this story that you guys then walked around all night in New York City. You're so fucked off your head. You're so tired, and then it gets right to the end. And then Dassler puts his hand in his pocket and goes, "Oh, there's the key." Isn't that what happened at the end?
No, it was in the bar. You had to go back to the bar and get it.
Yeah.
Like the owner let us in about 10 a.m. or something. No, the key was lost, but it was refound at the bar.
It's still out there somewhere.
You guys rolling it because you needed somewhere to be, and I remember either you texted or you called, and you came into the hotel room, and I remember you showed me the video. I saw this video of Dassolo. I'll never forget it. And just you talking about it, and back to that moment. And it was brilliant. I guess, before we go, I think it's important. We talk about this a little. Luke vaguely mentioned it, but if there's two things that I'm grateful that Luke is in my life for, it's someone to always ride a bicycle with, particularly a small fold-up clown bike, because I have one as well. But also someone to play Scrabble with. When we lived together in North Bondi, we must have played 3 games a night. There was a leaderboard on the wall. There was word of the week. There was a trophy. There was an all-time best score on the wall. We all got really, really deep into Stefan Fatsis and the book Word Freak, which I highly, highly recommend. It's a very nerdy book about people falling down the rabbit hole of competition Scrabble. We started going to Scrabble clubs. We started going to play away games against people we didn't know. And there was one. Luke was writing. If you don't know, Luke is one man who loves a bit of adventure, like a lot of fucking adventure. Before children suck the freedom out of your life, go and have adventures. And Luke did a lot of adventure. And one of those adventures was riding his bicycle. He's ridden his bicycle around South America, around Tasmania. He was riding his bicycle around New Zealand. And I said, look, I'm here for a couple of weeks on holiday after Australian Idol season 2. Come and hang out with me. And he came out of this beach house. And I think we played over the course of 5 days. I think we played close to 48 games of. And I wanted to find the score sheet because it's here somewhere. I still have the score sheet. But we ended up, and it's all looks impeccably, previously mentioned, very neat handwriting. We ended up no longer playing for, I'm just going to win this one. We started going, okay, all right, I'll play you for every reptile on the planet. Not aquatic ones, just land-based ones.
You end up owning the sun and shit. Like,
I won the sun in a game of Scrabble from Luke.
Great.
All water on the earth, frozen and salty. So
wow.
When you have a shower,
don't swim in my fucking ocean, mate. I own that.
Go surfing, but like fuck you are.
Sometimes when you're gambling, you're saying, "Well, we're not playing for sheep sheds or anything." Fuck, you were playing for a lot more than that. Wow, that's awesome. I find this so funny. Like the Luke Heggie you meet on stage, where he's teeing off about vegans, he's teeing off about left-handed people, he's teeing off about whoever there is, any sort of small group in society.
Just the latest one. Yeah.
Yet we find out that he plays the mandolin, he loves karaoke, he loves Scrabble, he rides a fold-up bike. What the fuck's wrong with you? You should be on stage teeing off on yourself, you freak.
I think that's why I laugh so hard. I laugh so hard when I'm at his shows because it's like, you fucking prick. You've got everyone here that you're upset at these strangers.
Next thing we're going to find out you are trained at Gaulier or something. That's another hidden secret. Studied planning to be able to just walk onto stage and go, so what else is going on?
Speaks accentless French, was in Paris with Luke right after the birth of his eldest child. And we're on a tandem, on the tandem that he and his wife followed the Tour de France round on. All right, so we're on this tandem. We're riding around.
There's another one.
Yeah, we're on a tandem bike riding through Paris. Amazing. And I'm riding on the back of a tandem with Luke Heggie, which was also fucking amazing, right? And we put like the catacombs, like I don't know who the fuck planned this city, but they didn't do a very good job. Anyway, I'm so lost, and this person goes, "Excuse me," and they goes, and I'm like, "What?" This lost Parisian to the main road. He's going to.
Sorry,
like it's not happening. What can do it?
I forgot about that. I'm adding that to the list. Mandolin, karaoke, Scrabble, fold-up bike has got French kids. Yeah. Absolute weirdo.
How's your fasting going, Heggie? Have you got a sick pack again?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, I've sort of, I've cheated a few times, but it's all right. Just get used to it. Just eating 4 hours a day. That's it.
That's just, I think that's not really fasting. That's just not being able to do any stand-up comedy, so not having money for food. Heggie, it's not technically fasting. Yeah.
It's very similar to that, but you can, I mean, I'm used to it. It's fine. Eat 1 till 5. That's it. So feel pretty good.
You eat when the kids eat, so the kids don't know that you're skipping lunch. Kids don't know you're skipping breakfast.
Oh no, I'm skipping breakfast and dinner. I have lunch, big lunch, and then I have a 5 o'clock snack. That's it.
Is this just to try and get job number 76 or whatever you're up to now to get into supermodeling? Is that what's happening now? You're just trying to get your beach bod for summer?
I just sort of, you can't exercise as much, so in lockdown, so I just eat less. I'm not working as much as I should, and
You want some
Heatless.
kettlebells and shit? I've got like a bunch of weights sitting around here that you're more than welcome to borrow if you want some.
Oh no, I'm all right. Thanks, though. I'm all right.
Yeah,
I fucking hate
got
weights.
got some sandbags you could fill up. You can get one to about 50 kilos if you want to do.
Right.
Hey, so
Why don't you just go to down to the gym? They'd be still open in Sydney, wouldn't they? Just walk on down there.
There's people dying and they're at home with lungs full of pus. I don't know if you realise, but things are fucking bad.
Oh, I know they're bad down here. I just didn't know if they were as bad up there by the look of your numbers up there. That's all.
Really bad. It's really, really bad, and no one's taking account, and no one's got their hands on the wheel, and it's fucked.
Not great. Hey, we're all on Zoom. We know.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the kind of note that we like to wrap these episodes up on. Luke Heggie, Osher Günsberg, thanks very much for joining us. Heggie, people can check out your podcast with Nick Cody, Mid-Flight Brawl. You've also got a couple of your stand-up specials on your website, lukeheggie.com, that people can check out.
Yes, I
Go
do.
all that
If
stuff.
they want.
We're holding a food drive for Heggie so he can eat after 6 o'clock at night as well. So chip into that.
Heggie's of all the stand-up comedians that I follow online, like the moment lockdown was announced, the moment gigs got cancelled, everyone's like, "Oh, please donate to my Patreon. Oh, please follow me on Twitch. Oh, I've got no money." Like, I'll have to go swing a fucking hammer and do an actual job. Excuse me. He knows what's up, man. He knows what's up.
Yeah.
Always has been.
Yeah, out there in the community, super spreading. Thank you, Luke Heggie.
You're welcome. Thanks, Osh. You've been very generous, and these two should take a fucking lesson on how to be nice to me.
Well, look, we're going to go out and find some new famous mates that like us. That's the lesson we're taking out of this. Fucking hell, must be nice.
Yeah, we did.
I've got to say, like the first night I ever met you, Carl, I didn't know who you were. Like I didn't put it together that you were from the podcast that I had listened to. The first night I met you, I remember it was this really important gig for Luke, and it was in New York, and it was him and Cody, and it was this club. It was actually a pretty full club. It was actually really, really good. And Luke's getting ready to go on. He's getting ready and he kept interrupting and going, "Mate, can I just get up and do 5? Mate, can I just get up and do 5?"
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
Is that what I did?
It's a great bit. It's always good. It's always good.
And I'm like, "Mate, cut your fucking shit. This is a really my friend here. Like, shut up, mate. I was pretty off at you that first night. I didn't know who you were.
Really?
Night for him.
Yeah, I didn't have time to be playing silly buggers like that. I was guarding our apartment key with my life at that stage. Couldn't afford any mental capacity to do anything else.
Well, I just want to apologise to Osher, not to Luke, obviously, but to Osher for annoying him. But no, I stand by what I did physically to Luke. But I didn't want to upset Osher, though. So.
It's a good bit. Osher, thank you so much for joining us. We better let you guys go. It is, of course, lockdown in Sydney. And as you mentioned, Heggie's got he's been working through the pandemic. So he's probably got a shift at Cotton on coming up later today in the Sydney lockdown. Osher, thanks for joining us. People can check out your podcasts. You've got Better Than Yesterday, and you've got Australian Idols with James Matheson.
Idol Australians with James Matheson. 400 episodes of Better Than Yesterday coming up on Monday, and I don't really quite know what to do about it. Like, I probably should have recorded a big, "Hey, it's 400," but I don't know what to do about that. Like, I don't know, you guys have done this for longer than me, but at some point, it's like you look back at this body of work and go, "Oh, fuck, I guess I did make something."
Yeah.
Ask these guys what they did for their 500th and get some tips on that.
So, boys.
Yeah, we organised a global pandemic, so we couldn't actually do it, and so we've been postponing it for about 2 years now. So that's what we did. We did fuck all.
Yeah,
great.
This is 571, and if you look back through our catalogue at the moment, it goes 498, 499, 501. So essentially, eventually we'll get to a point where it's like whatever, 589, 500, 590. It's good. It's good.
I'm not too confident about that, to be honest. But yeah, maybe.
I'm looking forward to 599, and then 500, 601.
Yes. That's the way we should time it.
We're actually, the plan is to do 500, 600, and 700 just in case we get another strain down the track.
Thank him.
Yeah.
Mask up, hands. Be kind to each other. Give your neighbours some dinner if you can.
Absolutely.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Not me. Don't need dinner.
Come around with an
Say-
empty Tupperware container for Heggie. That's what's going to agree with you. All right, guys. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. See you,
See you,
mate.
mates.
Yeah.